get started, do people still want to get drinks, seats, anything like that? A drink, a seat? National Gallery X. I'm Ali Husseini. I'm the co-founder, along with Chris Michaels, the director of digital at the National Gallery, of this facility, and I'm also serving as co-director. And Art in Flux actually has a bit of history with me and with us. About the year that Chris and I were talking about founding, it's supposed to be a place, cutting-edge art, meets the canon. We're a partnership between King's College London and the National Gallery. I went to the 50th anniversary show of the British Art Society at the Royal College of Art, and I saw a fantastic selection of art. There was a lot of legacy video art and electronic art, which I had lectured on and been inspired by myself as an artist and as a researcher. And also there was a great selection of contemporary art, and I said, well, who has brought this together? And it was a group called Art in Flux. So as we were pulling together our program here at NGX and bringing in technologies from King's, for instance, there's a spatial audio system that was invented at King's College London, and putting them together with real-world problems from the National Gallery, because the point of this facility is to be a place where actually cutting-edge research from King's mainly, but also from other places, can meet the real-world problems of an everyday running problems of a museum. COVID hit, and so we were about to open our first exhibition in March of 2020, and all of a sudden we had to pivot online. And we went from having a series of planned physical exhibitions and residencies to having to somehow do things virtually. And I remembered that Art in Flux seemed to have quite a keen curatorial sense. So we invited them to give a series of talks about contemporary art that would be thematically related to the kinds of things that we would want to do physically in this facility, but were unable to do. So for the past few years, we have asked them to give occasional talks, which you can find online at our website and also on their website. And we've now had to close that series and bring that to an end, but fortunately we're able to finally come back to our original mandate. So we invited Art in Flux to give one last talk where we have physical talks, we have lectures, we have installations, and we have guests, and we've even had workshops today. So I invite you to enjoy this evening. I think there's some fantastic speakers. We've got some keynotes, some inspirational moments, and maybe some chances for you to contemplate yourself and your relationship to art, and then we're going to have entertainment provided with food and drink and hospitality. I hope you'll stay. And some artworks produced by some of the people in this very room. I'm now going to hand the microphone over to Maria Almena of Art in Flux. So thanks again for coming, and I hope to talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, we have the housekeeping. We wanted to just quickly run it. Fire exit, there. Bathrooms, also there. We have flashing lights for our performance, and we are live streaming, and we have some intense 360 sound too. Yeah, thank you very much, Ali. It's a pleasure to be co-hosting this event, and a warm welcome to everyone that is here at the National Gallery Innovation Lab, NGX, and also to our audience online as we are live streaming. So today we are going to share our journey of artistic experimentation and social transformation, and our vision for our dream future society, and why our Flux and NGX residency was focused on media arts for social change, as we truly believe on the power of the arts for social transformation, and also on the artists and the contemporary artists' responsibility to address our society's current challenge and how to help to mitigate them. Co-curating and co-producing this event. As an artist, I developed my work with Kimatica Studio, where I'm the creative director. We design transformative experiences by combining interactive technology, live performance, and the human body. We explore consciousness, perception, and the sublime to inspire interconnectedness and introspection. Our media art installations and live performance are a radical interplay of light, motion, and emotions, and we dissolve the boundaries between dreams and reality. Before I continue with our event, I would like to introduce you to Art in Flux. So our organization was founded 7 years ago already at the Lights of Soho Gallery in London by the artists Olive Gingrich, Afra Semsa, and myself. We are an artist-led community interest company for artists working in the intersection between art and technology, with a focus on supporting underrepresented artists such as LGBTQ+, diverse heritage background, women in tech, and neurodiverse artists. We've grown from a loose forum of 30 practitioners into 2,000 practicing artists. And we are proud to have a wonderful community of artists with a range of different backgrounds, from upcoming to established artists. They all share the common passion of creating media art as a way of subverting the contemporary use of technology. We also have worked with institutions, and we have worked with key UK institutions and many universities too. We've run cultural programs for them in order to integrate and communicate media arts into their programs. And now I'm going to hand over to Olive to tell you a little bit more about other activities we run.
Thank you so much, Maria. Yeah, thank you. My name is Olive Gingrich. I'm a media artist. I'm also one of the co-founders of Art in Flux. My own artistic practice is really interested in participatory art forms, in neuro art, and also in visual sound. Together with the art collective Diana Lima Group, we're exploring the intersection between sound and vision. And tonight we'll see a little bit more of Diana Lima Group in a bit. But just to say that we were the very first artist in residence here actually at National Gallery X. And it's very exciting to now be finally back in the space and be able to show our work here to you. So a bit more about Art in Flux. What we do. So since 2018, we're hosting annual exhibitions. Our big exhibition that Ali mentioned in 2019 was celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Computer Art Society, and was then taken to the Victoria and Albert Museum as part of the Digital Design Weekend. And apart from physical exhibition, which you obviously can explore here as well, we're also doing virtual exhibitions. And specifically since COVID, we've done quite a lot of virtual exhibitions. You can see some experiments in media arts now, access all areas, and also reclaimed, about which Maria will tell you a bit more in a bit. Okay, and now I'm going to hand over to Afra Shemza to tell you a bit more about the curatorial premise of the event.
Thanks so much, Olive. It's absolutely wonderful to be here with everyone tonight. My name is Afra Shemza. I am, of course, curator and director at Art in Flux, along with Maria and Olive, a multimedia artist myself, and also manager of the estate of Anwar Jalal Shemza, who's my grandfather. And I'll come back to the work that I do with the estate a bit later. So I create work using light, abstraction, and interactivity. As an artist and activist, I find ambitious ways to fuse methodologies from the past with new innovations to imagine what the role of art could be in the future. Handmade and bespoke interactive circuits are often embedded within my sculptures, and that creates work that responds to the viewer or the space around them. I've been really, really keen on creating artworks that are accessible to everybody, and so I often employ co-creative practices and participatory art practices as well in my practice. So to move through and talk a little bit more about the activities that we do in Flux, our social events were how we really began. We began as a peer network for artists, and we came together, we had these lovely introspective evenings where we all got together, had a drink and had a chat about the different things we were experiencing in our practice and different ideas and themes. We learned how to collaborate with each other and to exchange our ideas and knowledge. We also, like tonight, we're hosted curated talks. So we wanted to take these introspective kind of peer network events to the public and discuss these themes. And most of the themes that we're looking at are all socially relevant, so they all have potential impact on society. So we also do workshops. So part of Flux's remit is to make media art practice and also digital technologies as accessible to everybody as possible. So we've been working a lot with young people over the last few years and adults to demystify technology and make tech accessible to everybody. So this evening's event is all about transformations. It's about how media art can and does have an impact on society. As an arts organisation run by artists, we really believe that art has a transformative power, and so we're really excited to kind of present that to you this evening. As Ali mentioned, we've had a whole day of programme today. We've had a university tour this morning, we've had a community leaders workshop, we had 2 research workshops this afternoon about transcendence design and participatory art. And tonight, I'm so delighted that we'll be having Kay Watson from Serpentine as our keynote speaker and Natasha Trotman, one of our Flux artists, to all present their work around the theme. So this evening's event basically is brought around our 7 events that we've been running that Ali mentioned with the National Gallery X. So each event is centred around one of the curator's interests, and the themes are our artistic practice themes that we're working with in our own artistic practice, and we've also crossed that over into our curatorial practice as well. And the themes we've been exploring are gender, well-being, cultural heritage, accessibility, invisible, data, transcendence, and ecology. And we really think in these troubling times, it's a really good idea to start talking about the transformative power of art. It's a place where we can explore and imagine new ways of being in the world and think about future possibilities. And so we're really keen to explore that with you. So this evening, we're going to talk a little bit more about these themes, and I'm now going to pass over to Olive, who will tell you a little bit more about the themes he's been focused on.
Thank you so much, Afra. Yeah, so the National Gallery has recently focused on bringing their collection to life using VR and new technology, and specifically here in the exhibition Leonardo that you can see there, where compositions lying underneath the paintings were brought to life using new tech. And I was really inspired by this idea of bringing the intangible to life, bring the invisible to life, and hence the name The Invisible. So this event really focused on this idea of working with data and showing things that we know about, we can't really grasp. So tonight we have one of the artworks on display that was produced by my colleague Shama Rahman and myself, which shows brainwave art. So it basically shows and brings to light our own creativity using AI and deep learning algorithms. So The Invisible featured talks by Marshmallow Laser Feast, by Rafik Anador, and by the Analima Group. And these artworks are actually on display here as well. This is Kima Color, which is an artwork that was first developed here at the residency with National Gallery X, and that we're now working on with Royal National Institute for the Blind to understand if and how we can create meaningful and accessible 360 visual sound experiences. So tonight we actually have a performance, the very first performance, which I'm going to announce now. It is by the Analima Group, which was founded by my colleague Evgenia Emets, consists of Dr. Alain Renaud, who's here, who created a beautiful 360 sound design, myself and our colleague David Negrao. And this artwork was nominated for the Lumen Art Prize. It's called Kima Voice, and tonight it will be performed by Victoria Cooper. It's a participatory performance, so the hope is really for you to perform together with Victoria. I should say, because of legalities, whoever wants to perform will have to sign a release form, yeah? So I hope that's okay with you. So please be brave, and without any further ado, I'd like to announce the very first performance, the Analima Group.
Thank you very much, Hannah Group. That was mesmerizing, and I think also proving how through synchronizing your voice, you can maybe synchronize all your state of beings, and that always helps with within our society, right? So now I'm going to be talking about the first event I curated, Levitations, Media Arts for Well-Being. Levitation explores how media artists and scientists are using technology to create transformative experiences for the future of humanity well-being, expanding on the role that arts and tech experiences should have in our contemporary society, in order to address the deepest of individual and societal needs. It featured the work of neuroscientist Mendel Kellen, the designer Rachel Winfield, the media performance Kimatica, and the neurodiverse artist Natasha Trotman and light artist Luciana Hale. For this event, I met the renowned National Gallery Impressionist curator Christopher Rippel to explore the similarities between media artists and Impressionist artists as the radical order of their time. It was really interesting to learn that Impressionist artists, they were the first ones to explore abstractions, and they were interested in representing the constant transformation between light and color. They were also inspired by the scientific discoveries of their time, and the first one to explore immersion, which are all key tendencies within media arts. The focus of this event, it was to explore how to create new forms of therapy through artistic practice, and how to enhance the therapeutic powers of the art. These ideas have been long explored at the National Gallery collection. For instance, by the genius Vincent van Gogh, who was known for expressing his inner world through his art, and also using it as a therapeutic tool to stay connected with the world after he lost his hearing. For this event, we select the artwork of Kira Sigalini, also on the audience, to represent this theme. She's an award-winning multimedia artist working with technology to create emotionally connecting experiences. She developed sensors and light biofeedback artworks, which extend into research on breathwork and diaphragmatic breathing. This resulted in the development of deep sim art object, which you can see and experience on the right-hand side of this room. This piece uses custom sensors. The participant breathing is visualized in a soothing light, picking only deep, slow diaphragmatic breathing. Now, I'm going to pass it over to Olive to tell you about another of his themes.
Yes, so I'm focusing on gender and media art. Gender Tag was our very first event at National Gallery X, and it built on some of the important work that the National Gallery has done to address historic underrepresentation of women and the historic deficit in discussing gender in this context. Gender Tag focused on representation of self and gender by female, non-binary, queer, and gay artists presenting their own contemporary practices against the backdrop of the historic and continued underrepresentation in art institutions across the globe. Speakers at the Gender Tag event included the seminal artist Pedro Alatisha, the media artist Birgitta Hosea, the researcher Paula Kalus, as well as a range of upcoming and emerging artists. This emphasis on championing historically excluded voices became a key ethos of Art in Flux. Tonight, we're exhibiting the groundbreaking artist Jake Elwes, who is showing their work, The CZ Show, which you can see over there. The CZ Show addresses discrimination in data sets and deep learning algorithms through their art. Jake's work, The CZ Show, explores new type of performances that reach beyond gender and beyond the binaries through deep fake drag. So Gender Tag will culminate in an exhibition that we're hosting at Ugly Duck, and this exhibition will open on 24th of November this year, so please put the date in the diary. Yeah, and now I'm going to hand over to Afra, who's going to talk a little bit about her theme.
Thank you so much. And just to say also, all the artists are here tonight, so you will have a chance to meet them and talk to them about their work. So Jake's just in the audience over there. Hi, Jake. So you'll be able to talk to him a bit more about his work after the event. So I curated 2 events for the National Gallery X as well. Shifting Ground was about media art and South Asian cultural heritage. With my grandfather's artwork, in the last sort of 10 years, there's become a resurgence and an interest in migrant artists' work who came over to London in the 50s and 60s from other Commonwealth countries. And as these changes are taking place in the art world, and these artists are now finding their sort of rightful place in British art history, I thought it was interesting to think about a new dialogue for the 21st century around the legacy of South Asian migration and its impact on contemporary media artists working today. So that's what the event was centered around. And we started, the closest that the National Gallery's collection comes to the east. So this portrait of Sultan Mehmet II by Gentile Bellini. And we invited Bishi, Rahana Zaman and Prem Saib to talk about their work in relation to this context. So I'm presenting for Shifting Ground, and I'm presenting the two works at the back there in the corner. And they're from my Shemza digital project. So as I mentioned, I'm the granddaughter of Anwar Jalal Shemza, who was a British Pakistani painter who came over to London in the 50s and studied at the Slade. A lot of, maybe there's these changing attitudes in the curatorial sphere and in art academia, but a lot of the public still don't know about the work of my grandfather. So what I wanted to do was create a digital and participatory project that invited the public to actually make their own artworks as a way to highlight the work of my grandfather, but also to speak more broadly about championing diversity and other stories in art and life. So trying to step towards a more decolonized art world and a life as well. So tonight you'll be able to create your own digital paintings by scanning a QR code at the back. Maybe some of you have tried it already. And they will come to life on the screen at the back there. And also there's a new light sculpture that was literally finished a couple of days ago in the studio that was designed co-creatively with the British public. So the actual patterns that are used in the sculpture were designed in some workshops that I created. And so it's also interactive. So if you walk up to it, it will respond to you. The second event I curated, so these are the two themes that I'm interested in my practice, so cultural heritage and also ecology and sustainability. So it was radical ecology. It was about media art and ecology. It was set in the aftermath of the COP26 climate summit, so November last year. And as we're still in a dire planetary situation, it's still incredibly relevant to be talking about this subject now more than ever, I think. We looked to the National Gallery's collection for inspiration and where artists such as Turner have been inspired by nature, always. We also discovered and discussed how climate change and the fact that we as human beings are contributing to climate change was discovered as early as 1837, so way back in the day. And we discussed also how John Ruskin himself was an early environmentalist. I invited Ben Aiton, Sarah Krask and Francis Disley to explore this subject in relation to their practice. I'm so excited tonight that we're presenting Augustine Lauder's 360 spatial sound composition, which is going to be playing in the spatial sound rig that we have all above our heads. But before we do that, I just want to tell you a little bit about the piece. And I should say, I definitely need to read this bit because it's a bit wordy, but I should say that this sound installation is part of an 100-meter sound installation that is going to be on display at Kew in the Temperate House all of October. So it's really exciting to be able to show a snippet of that here tonight, and do check it out in Kew. So this installation is called Parte de la Ceremonia, and it creates surreal soundscapes from different Mexican forest habitats. It immerses you in a unique, ethereal, and imaginative auditory experience. It consists of a realistic 3D recreation of these ecosystems. Imaginary elements are synthesized from field recordings using techniques such as granular synthesis. And ultrasonic sounds, such as bats, are pitched down to the human hearing range, so that cultural and magical elements you'll be immersed with, and they're all from the conservation region. So I'm really excited to take it away. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Agustin. Really meditative experience. I've got to say that I've experienced his sound installation at the Kew Gardens in Essex, the one that is not in London. Was it Essex? Wakers, yeah. And it was incredible because he hides all the speakers around the plants and the trees, and it really transports you to another world. Yeah, like really beautiful experience. So I'll definitely be visiting his installation at the Kew Gardens. So now we are on to Reclaim. The Reclaim event. This event, we actually co-curated, the three Flux directors. We co-curated this event. And it was also an interesting process, right? It was the first time we co-curated a talk event, the three of us. And yeah, Reclaim was a very important event for us because it was really showing us the deficits within the arts and centering the public debate around questions for access media from historical underrepresented artists such as neurodiverse artists, women in tech, and LGBTQ+. Natasha Trotman, who took part at this exhibition and also at the talk, is representing this theme tonight, and with a talk that I'm about to introduce, and her own work. You can see her work at that video screen on my left-hand side. Reclaim was really a pivotal event for us, as we now cemented this focus into our governing policies. With UK art institutions continuing to address these issues around representation and diversity, inequalities remain in their collection and their programs. So what role can a small art organization like Art in Flux play to create a wider and greater representation within these spaces? Now, it is my true honor to introduce the talk of Natasha Trotman. She is an international equality designer, and researcher. Her work extends frontiers of knowledge around mental difference, non-topical body minds, ways of being, and marginalized experiences. Natasha seeks to reframe mainstream notions of equality, equity, diversity, access, and inclusion, always through an intersectional design lenses, spanning multimodal interactions, investigative play, and policy design for a variety of audience, participants, and organizations. Now, let's all give a warm welcome to Natasha Trotman.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. It's really good to be here. And it was a wonderful introduction as well, so I appreciate that. Okay, so during this presentation, I'll take you on a journey through my practice, spanning research, projects, commissions, self-directed investigations, and why I do what I do. So based on the introduction that was given for me, you already know I'm a polymath, so as well as being an equalities designer, I'm also engaged in other creative endeavours, such as being an artist in residence at Somerset House, Studio 48, I'm also a design expert for the Design Council, and I'm an SEND practitioner. So I use all of these different tools and methods and approaches, ways to foster new conversations and new approaches to the world and its challenges. And in regards to, we'll do a little bit of jargon busting, in regards to neurodivergent, it refers to those who experience and process the world in distinct and unique ways due to neurological differences, including but not limited to autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, sorry if I got that wrong, learning disabilities, Tourette's, ADHD, and adverse childhood experiences, also known as ACEs. So I'll also use the term mental difference, inclusive of people living with a dementia. Next slide, please. So, as previously mentioned, my work examines different ways of experiencing and processing the world, ranging from people with mental difference, hidden disabilities, neurodivergent communities, through to people living with a dementia. I also work with neurotypical people. I am fluent, fairly in neurotypical, I think, and I also use transdisciplinary research methods and approaches, working across multiple sectors, but the golden thread that interlinks all of these things are equity, access, inclusion, equality, and more. So using transdisciplinary methods and approaches, I became, through my work, particularly interested in unpacking and interrogating accepted inequalities. For example, initiatives and such offering and offerings that frame things as inclusive and as diverse, but for example, opportunities to racialized or ethnically diverse people, but there are terms and conditions relating to mainstream notions on age and normative developmental trajectories. So, next slide, please. Thank you. So I mentioned normative developmental arcs, trajectories. I could go on. I'm a little bit nervous and a bit low on spoon, so do forgive me if I trip on my words a little bit. And if you're interested in spoon theory, that was created by Christine Miserandino, and you can find out lots more about that and the energy ranges and how we quantify that as neurodivergent and disabled and chronically ill people. Okay, so what drives me? Curiosity, intellectual humility, yeah, justice too. So I've coined the term equalities designer, as I found that through my journey traversing theory and practice, I encountered inclusion and access gaps where accepted inequalities were present, as previously mentioned, age exclusionary, ability exclusionary approaches and such. So unofficial discourse and overlooked challenges and pain points exist. I think we know that. But we still need to illuminate this. So I mediate this through my work, undergirded by a rights-based justice approach and undergirded by the social model of disability also. This is due to disabled and neurodivergent needs and desires, in particular those who are multiply marginalised, being rendered invisible by normative approaches and historic inequality based on that normative lens I just mentioned. So I use a suite of multidisciplinary skills to engage and address and challenge these pain points and points of concern. So I transmute neurodivergent, disability and interlocked macro and micro pain points into solutions. Well, I hope so. The next slide, please. Thank you. So we are all connected, and access and inclusion is a continuum. But I have a question for you all. Are you sitting comfortably? Feeling okay? Yeah? Okay, well, that may be coming at a cost. It might not be a good thing. As we're aware, there's one geographical world. However, there are many worlds within worlds occurring simultaneously that people are experiencing, living right across from you. Or opposite you, as we're all seated in here together. Okay, so if the people who are overlooked or unheard are designed out due to normative notions of needs and requirements, those in disabled and neurodivergent communities are faced with the articulated outputs of that, which are misfitting designs. They do not fit their whole selves and requirements. Life can be uncomfortable, a pain point. So mainstream normative comfort may be coming at a cost. From a personal standpoint, I've discovered that I'm living a tethered existence. I got that epiphany today, at least in part. A tethered existence based on tech issues experienced today via my support. I am neurodivergent and disabled. And I realized that due to my tethered existence and twinning that occurs for me when I'm doing this, where I flip from clock time to crypt time and back again if needed, where possible, the world seems more accessible for me. However, without connectivity, I found there was a cognitive burden, access and inclusion almost insurmountable, intermittent connections. I feel strongly that digital access is a human right. We need a continuum of connectivity. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nothing about us without us. Nothing about us without all of us, with a position of pushing against and going beyond the normative scope of us, we and they. Put simply, good design enables, bad design disables. Good design works, as previously mentioned, undergirded by the social model of disability and within a continuum of access, looking at situational, temporary, and long-term needs and access requirements. So, while working across my projects, I started to realize, as I mentioned before, not every voice is being heard, but there are also official and unofficial conversations and discourse occurring. This started to emerge, along with the related power differentials. So marginalized and multiply marginalized people, groups, and producers of knowledge were being designed out. The result, as I mentioned before, accepted inequalities in various forms, in varied articulated outputs. I attempt to mediate such challenges via lived and learned experience through my practice, pushing for access, involvement, inclusion, and engagement as a right and entitlement for all, from a personal and professional standpoint. But from a personal standpoint, I can say that I have multiple aspects of myself existing simultaneously, each with their own affordances and challenges, even penalties. This is known as intersectionality, a term coined by lawyer and activist Kimberly Crenshaw. Well, that's if you believe in labels. But it's okay. If you don't believe in them, they believe in you. Next slide, please. During the pandemic, I worked within special measures on the ground, delivering sessions. The first year, it was a year like no other. I found myself at a point where the various aspects of my being met at the crossroads. It provided an invaluable moment of clarity. Yes, there are complexities. We must lean into them. Equitable offerings that contribute to meaningful change on policy and practice are vital. During this time, I worked on neuromnemonic. This illuminated the multiply marginalized experiences and textures throughout the pandemic through an interactive, poetic 360 experience and amplifies underserved voices that exist at the intersections. Neuromnemonic has been exhibited by the National Gallery X and Art in Flux, the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, Art Week, and Ars Electronica. Next slide, please. So this is a clip from my film, ND, You, Me. The ND stands for neurodivergence, and I think we've already done the jargon busting for that. ND, You, Me is an umbrella project. Hughes challenges the light and shade of difference. This experimental film brings non-typical ways of being into focus and explores neurodiversity, compassion, and connectedness, celebrating the tapestry of ND body minds and experiences. And part of this was also featured in the Kaleidoscopic Minds project led by Azara Amoy. Next slide, please. So, polychronic frequencies. Crypt time, clock time, polychronic. So, crypt time, academic Alison Kafer refers to this approach and way of thinking as understanding time in a different way. Crypt time illuminates the complexity of disabled experiences in a Western world, a world undergirded by clock time, normative time. a construct that can present barriers to inclusion, diversity and access for those who exist outside of the mainstream. A hacking and reframing of time via cryptime allows for accommodations based on a person's visible and invisible requirements, needs, and more. Cryptime illuminates the tensions and even compromises between monochronic and polychronic time. Those existing outside of the normative time, I include myself in this, can harness cryptime to challenge the normative apportioning and segmenting of time, work, and even play in day-to-day life. So I'd like to add that clock time is based on Greenwich Mean Time, which has colonial roots. That means many different things for me, coming from the West African diaspora. Polychronic time is defined by some as an alternative temporal perception where time is experienced as a point where relationships, tasks, social interactions, and beyond converge and exist simultaneously, a space for new and multiple ways of being and existences. I will end this presentation by reading a part of the poem featured in Polychronic that explores the many textures, dimensions, and modalities of polychronic existences from a multiply marginalized, neurodivergent frame of reference. Forms of energy as devices, technologies for transmutation, connection, back to a collective understanding, a larger consciousness, calibration beyond all senses, attending to multiple dimensions and related occurrences, infinitely spinning, floating, simultaneously soaring and swimming, destination unknown. Still, we keep swimming, mobilizing inaudible, opaque, and edgeless modalities, oscillating technologies, polycomplexity, black ND frequential energy, community, my twin, and me, embracing uncertainty and new possibilities for all.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Yeah, it's a real honor to have you here and so inspiring, really. So I just want to say artists like Natasha Trotman really epitomize this idea that artists operate on the intersection between culture and real change, societal change. And yeah, Natasha's artwork is over there, so please feel free to explore it after the talks as well. In the tradition of the National Gallery, really, so we're trying with Art in Flux really to provide a forum for artists to push for societal change, just like artists like Peter Paul Rubens, for instance, who was prolific in these different spheres between politics and culture. We're really hoping to provide a forum for artists to push for this societal change. And we're hoping to do that through disruptive technology, but also through new types of collaborations between artists, researchers, cultural institutions. And today it's a great honor to have a trailblazer for new types of collaborations here. Kay Watson, who's created for iLab at the Serpentine, is really showing us new types of collaboration in which technology plays an important part. Kay Watson is a producer and curator working with art and advanced technologies, photography and video games. She's head of art technologies at Serpentine, London, and a trustee at Brighton Photo Fringe, Mediale, and the Photographers Gallery. Please welcome today our second keynote speaker, Kay Watson.
I'm really glad. Oh, hello, can you hear me? I'm really glad that my face is not so huge on that screen anymore. Thank you. I first of all want to start with an apology. It's not my usual behaviour to turn up 2 minutes before giving a talk, but unfortunately I'm navigating the new world of childcare, not something I'm very good at, and then a fire alarm decided to go off at Stratford, so I apologise. So today, I just wanted to say thank you, Art in Flux, for inviting me. Thank you to Ali. It's always nice to be asked to do and to speak about the work that we do at the gallery, and also to be sort of a part of this community, so thank you. And congratulations to everyone who's involved. I will actually get a chance to look at some of the work afterwards, sorry. So to begin, my name's Kay, I'm Head of Arts Tech at the Serpentine. In the context of tonight, I'm going to very quickly take you through some of the work that we do. I think what I'm trying to do is to bolster some of the themes that have been running through the event tonight, the way that maybe we share some of those values with NGX and Art in Flux. And the way that we in Serpentine really think that art and culture is a vital part with how we think about and understand technology, that artists should be supported to work in this area, particularly with a focus on R&D, and how we can prototype the evolutions or transformations that might need to take place within organizations and the wider ecosystem in the way that to enable this shared mission. So if you could just go back one, thank you, sorry. So Serpentine is a public contemporary art gallery. We have no collection. We are increasingly focused on ecology, technology, and community. In this context, I work obviously on the technology strand and where this intersects with our core concerns. Specifically, Serpentine Arts Technologies, which, as it says here, which is a program that initiates and supports artists in developing ambitious artworks that deploy advanced technologies as a medium, tool, or topic, often operating beyond gallery walls. The foundation of this program is located in an evolving R&D platform that is not a physical space. It is a programmatic situation that supports the development of infrastructures for ongoing artistic exploration and interrogation of advanced and emerging technologies. So over the last nearly 10 years now, if we go to the next slide, thank you. We've developed a structure with which we do this, with our focus really being on production, and that's developing those production skills in-house, R&D, and audiences, or rather how we do things that are public-facing and who our publics are. And we do this through commissioning. I'll talk about some of those. We have a series of labs. Again, these are not labs with physical space. This is distributed sort of programming. These are all labs in areas that we consider to be of strategic importance in the area. And Future Art Ecosystems, which is our annual report. And I'll come back to that at the end as well. So if we go to the next slide. Yeah, this is a way of illustrating what some of these things look like. So our approach to technology, or digital as maybe we call it, has many forms and many publics. So this is, I often like to quote Ursula Le Guin, as many people do, in her rant about technology, which is that it is the active human interface with the material world. It is more than just technology in and of itself. It's how it shapes our relationship to the world. And just to sort of replicate what you just said in terms of the world, or multiple worlds that are happening within the world, happening at the same time. So it's interesting that you said that. And how we experience society. And she is also asking us to think more than simply the technological in terms of something that is high-tech. And I think that's also something important that is happening here today in the way that Art in Flux, I think, are thinking about these transformations. So if we go to the next slide, and then you can move on. I'll run through some of these programs very quickly. Artist Worlds is an ongoing series of commissions, events that support artistic practices that engage with simulated realities, immersive storytelling, and virtual world building. The idea being to invite audiences into these worlds to explore and offer insights in these advancing technologies, but also associated practices. If we go to the next slide, this is from a lockdown project with Jakob Kutsteensen, where we sort of redeveloped a single VR work, which was, a sort of narrative work. We developed it into a multi-player open world as such, and invited a number of collaborators in to basically do a kind of performative walkthrough, inviting Lyndon Johnson to do a reading, and Alenda Chang to talk about the relationship between ecology and video games, which she writes so well on. And it's very much a product of the lockdown. It's something we will continue. It was live streamed via Twitch, and we did it live. It was quite difficult. Luckily, it worked. And if we go to the next slide, I think what we were trying to sort of do is bring in these multiple viewpoints within the single world and do that live. The next project actually will be with the next Artist Worlds will be with an artist called Gabrielle Massan, who is a wonderful artist, and we're developing a game for that. I thought I would include, this is quite an old project from 2018. It's really like the first exhibition that we did the first time the digital department, as we were known then, was allowed to go into the gallery, which was a bit of a risk, I think, on the part of the gallery, but and that's why I wanted to bring it up. If we go to the next slide, this was in a nutshell, it was the creation of an artificial life form that was born in the gallery. It was an AI that responded to the behavior of the audiences. You could sort of basically Skype yourself into the world, and this life form could decide basically whether to kick you out or not. And as their personality developed, it was based on things like your facial movements, all your behaviours. Quite a complex project to undertake. And I think what this also tells us is the importance of a space for risk-taking, and how do you enable that within the art field as it is now. I don't know if I know the answer to that, but I think it's just an important thing to say. Next project, Hive Mind. This is quite recent. We've been working with a collective called Trust, who are based in Berlin, who do a lot of work in terms of working with advanced technologies. They do a lot of stuff around blockchain, and they have a co-working space and all of this kind of thing. We worked with them to develop a knowledge game, which was both a game and a piece of infrastructure for us as a department, through which to work with artists to talk about how their projects are developed. So it becomes like a sort of play-through, gamified way of talking about the back end of artistic processes. So if we go to the next slide, I have a few images. This is from work, this is Trust, and this is something that we live stream to Twitch, because Twitch is our sort of arts technology's sort of main public-facing space. You can see all these hives, and within these hives is an opportunity to talk about different aspects of how a work is developed. It's open source. Anyone can download it and adjust it and do whatever they want with it. If we go to there's a few slides. We just recently, so we're doing live events with different artists. So we've just worked with Libby Heaney, who's the quantum physicist artist, who's brilliant, and is trying to talk about how important it is for us to understand what's happening with in that field, because that is going to be transformative if it ever happens, which it probably will. Final project, I think this is Hito Steil's Actual Reality OS. I wanted to include this because this was quite a big project for the gallery, in that it spanned across different departments, across exhibitions, our team, and working with our civic team, all of which was based around this notion of thinking about power in relation to digital technologies, in that power is kind of the basis of the development of any technology, both from like the fact that we need electricity to run these things, and that also adds another layer of, as we have another dimension added to that right now. In addition to, the fact that we're talking about economic and political power, the people who are developing these technologies and who is making those decisions, the who, the how. we work with a series of research partners. The work that I was most involved, well, we were most involved with, was the development of this app called Actual Reality OS, which is another open source app. Basically, we did a lot of data collection with a series of research partners, including Unite the Union, Disabled People Against Cuts, Architects for Social Housing, and other organizations like that. What we were trying to do is really think about the different outputs, relationships, and processes in relation to AI on sort of a technological and on a human scale as well. Next slide. This is a more recent project, which is particularly around the research and development stuff that we do. We've been working with Danielle Brathwaite-Shirley for a little while. Initially on a kind of period of R&D. If we go to the next slide, I don't know if you know Danielle's work, but she uses video game development in order to archive Black trans experience. And she is an enormously prolific artist who basically makes a new game every day. And it's quite incredible. What we're doing with her is really thinking about, what can we do to support the next phase of work? We've been talking about, what do you want? Do you need to? Are you thinking about a studio? Do you want to go down the video game development route? Is the art world context the right context? In addition to sort of working on a slightly more complex project, this was a live playtest improv session, which was insane, that we did in April, which will form the backbone of a larger project. And this was then revisiting that. This is Tamar, the Arts Technologies curator, who's been working with Danielle for a long period, to really sort of go into more depth and get feedback from our Twitch audience on how that was working. If we go to the next slide, I'm probably way over 10 minutes, aren't I? I'll be very quick. So I'm just going to skip through this very quickly. What R&D does is, in terms of what we think, is really thinking about what does public interest look like in a public institution today. How do we undertake that kind of organizational development to support this kind of work? This is a quote from my colleague Victoria Ivanova, because I could never say it as well. But I will move us on to the next slide. And I think that one of the ways we do this is through our report feature ecosystems, which is our annual strategic briefing, which is something that we've conceived with a strategy company called Rival Strategy, who really think about, who've worked with a number of different kinds of organizations outside of the art field, and we're really thinking about why or should we be doing this in relation to art. So with each briefing, and we are about to release our third, it is about providing concepts, references, language and arguments towards the construction of 21st century cultural infrastructure. And that, for us, is the systems that support the production, distribution, management and financialization of art that engages with advanced technologies at the same time as being responsive to wider social issues. If we go to the next slide, I think what was also important is to do the strategic work that often comes out the private and commercial sector, but putting artists at the center of it. That is a very important part of why we do this, but it's also about convening, and it's about involving everyone else who's involved in the sector, and that is how we undertake that research process. Last year we released this, Art in the Metaverse. I don't really have time to talk about it, but I'm very happy to share copies of that if you're so interested. Really coming out of the looking at the video games industry and digital strategy. We're working on Future Ecosystems 3, building hybrid worlds, and really sort of thinking about this point of public value, Web 3D, Web Metaverse, in the name of constructing, of understanding what the evolution of the art field could be. This is where I wanted to leave it, because I think, in terms of transformation, these are the things that I think are important. Interoperability. This is a term that is, bandied around in tech world, but what does it really mean for the art field in terms of organizations and people working together? Advanced production capabilities. We know that we need the ability to access that kind of capability. Where should that be? How should it manifest? Advanced economic and distribution rationales. I think that it's, we do need to look and explore further and expand on digital strategies that already exist. New systems of measurement, this is really key for me, which is like metrics. Like the fact that we still measure things via footfall and number of clicks, it does not tell us anything about engagement, or anything actually, other than, and obviously people are gaming the system. And then deeper engagement with user as stakeholder, and that is really about embedding those people who are necessary to an organization within its processes. So that is from an artist to a funder. That's everything from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Thanks so much, Kay. I think it's very fascinating to learn about other organizations, how they are developing the digital program, and also to learn that you've been working with Danielle, as she's also a Flux artist, actually. She was part of our Reclaim virtual exhibition. And she recently just spoken at our last Flux Social, actually. So yeah, now we are entering to the end of the event. I'm going to talk about the last event I curated for National Gallery X, that it was called Transcendent. This event explored the art behind creating mystical and transcendental experiences. How can this be designed? They're relevant in our society, and the latest technical and scientific research on their potential to support alternative therapies. It featured media art projects by Kimatica Studio and Maya Petrick, and views from our expert speakers, creative technologist Carl Hayden Smith, here, and neuroscientist Catherine Templer-Lewis. We devised a future for creating this type of experiences so they can help our society to recover from our current global isolation and meaning-making crisis, letting art be an activator for social and emotional transformation, and through the exploration of this altered state of consciousness that enhance human interconnectedness. For this event, I met with curator Ayla Lepin, the religion curator at the National Gallery, who walked me through the collection to find the mystical experiences more represented in the collection, which were the Assumptions of Virgin Mary and the Crucifixion of Jesus Christ. We, chatting with Ayla, we also connected over the idea of altars as a way, and how art pieces, they create a natural altar for people to connect with God or with their inner world. I particularly like this image of Saint Francis in Meditation by Francisco de Zurbarán, representing the mystical space in a very deep black, and concept seen at Kimatica's artwork to represent the subconscious space. So for today's event, we've selected an artwork from Kimatica Studio, Metaverse Divination, which you can see at the very back, and it was also created through the help of Arts Council England during the pandemic. This piece is connected to the live performance that you are about to experience. And yeah, it's a series of augmented reality ritualistic performances that uses ritual framework as a design framework to promote embodiment, interconnectedness, and introspection. Kimatica wove together interconnected realities to experience performance and also to explore how to integrate ritual methodologies in the digital world. The augmented reality visuals that you can see, they respond to the performance, movement, and colors in real time using our own 360 and AR body tracking open source. Now, it is time for the closing experience of this evening. So I'm going to get my team to slowly prepare everything they have to prepare. Kimatica is presenting Metaverse Divination live performance. It is directed by myself, performed live by Nestor Rubio, Jose Macabra, Barbarella, Buca, Terry Clark, and Susanna on the makeup. It is an ongoing R&D project that is serving as a case study of our larger Transcendent design research. This research project is exploring how live performance in the combination with interactive technology can induce an altered state of its audience, as we believe these type of experiences can help to mitigate some of the current challenges we have in our society now. We are designing the next generation of transformative and transcendent experiences to elevate human conditions by drawing inspiration from the ages of human consciousness, the latest scientific research, ancient spiritual practice, in order to create new contemporary rituals. We are building a transcendent lab, a community of artists, researchers, practitioners, and therapists to combine methodologies from psychedelic, mystical, and transcendent experiences. This project is supported by Breaking Convention, the International Psychedelic Consciousness Conference that happened at Greenwich University, and it's been launched thanks to the National Gallery X and King's College, who hosted their very first seminar this morning, actually. We have more seminars and performance to be coming up under the Transcendent Design umbrella. There is much more I'd like to share, but there is no more time for words now. I just like to finish by saying that we are focusing on creating contemporary rituals because we want to help our Western society to be more connected with the subconscious mind, with the inner world, and with magic. So now I'd like to welcome you all to experience Metaverse Divination, Kimatica's latest ritual performance. So you can switch off the light. Yeah. And to start, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes for a second and focus on your breathing. Let's take together 3 deep and slow breaths. 1, 2. It's a snippet of what Kimatica has been working recently, and I want to thank again my team, performance and vocal Barbarella, Buka, performance dancer. Technical wizards, we got Nestor Rubio in the programming and the generative visuals, Terry Clark in the lights, and Jose Macabra on the sound design. Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, a big thank you to Kimatica. What a fantastic performance. Really shows the power of transcendence and introspection. Yeah, hugely exciting. We've got only a couple of final slides to wrap up, just to tell you, if you want to see more about Kimatica's work and more about our work with Art in Flux, we've got a next event coming up at the Barbican, which is happening on the 10th of November already, and it's about embodiment, and is in the framework of the Caroline Schneemann exhibition at the Barbican. So I'd very much like you to join us there. We'll have performances and screenings, and we have an exhibition coming up at Ugly Duck on the 24th of November. So yeah, to say really is that hopefully we're able to give you a good overview of the different types of themes that we're all working on: cultural heritage, health and well-being, introspection, transcendence, gender, the environment, cultural heritage. And what we really try to do with Art in Flux is to provide a forum for artists, for artistic expressions that uses technology in new and innovative ways. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Afra Shemsa to wrap it up. And yeah.
Thanks so much, Olive. We're just getting our final slides. So this is our event that's happening at the Barbican, so please do join us, and the gender tuck was on there as well. So as our National Gallery X residency draws to a close, we are looking for new partners, so if you are in the room, we're hoping to work with some of you next year. We do, obviously, exhibitions, workshops, all kinds of talks, etc. So do get in touch with us. You can find out, contact us on info@artinfluxlondon.com. We'd love to work with you. If you're an artist, maybe at home at the live stream, please do come along to one of our social events. We do work with emerging artists. As Olive mentioned, we've got an open call for a slot to exhibit with us at the Barbican. So that's very exciting, so do submit to the open call. And after the show, as I mentioned before, we have all the artists who are going to be with their artwork. So please do talk to them, find out about what they're up to and their work, and have a little chat with us. So, thank yous. Thank you all for attending. It's wonderful to have such an intimate and incredible guests here tonight. Thank you to our speakers as well, Kay Watson and Natasha Trotman. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you both. I would like to thank our artists in the room who are all exhibiting. So Kira Zigalina, who's just here on the round here with the sim, Jake Elwes in the audience, Augustine Lauder, fantastic, 360 sound, yes, thank you, Kimatica Studio, amazing performance, Anna Lima Group, fantastic, Olive Gingrich, Sharma Rahman, and my collaborator Stuart Batchelor. I would also like to thank, of course, the National Gallery X for commissioning and hosting this event, to Ali Husseini for hosting us, to Chris Michaels, to Priyesh Mistry for all your support with our events, to Iram Ali. I mean, this event would not have happened without you at all, for holding everything together. Thank you. And of course, to our technical team, John Sheldon, who's hiding in the back, Ash Baker. Woo! To Ian Warren, to Alex Sorrenti at the back there on the camera, because this event really couldn't have happened without you. And of course, to our live streamers who are also in the back, Hakeem, we're so pleased to be able to bring this as a hybrid event to you too. So, I think that's everybody, hopefully. If I've forgotten you, I'm so sorry. I'm now pass over to Ali to wrap over the event.
I'll give you, this is really the final word. Thank you so much. But first, I'd like to leave you with a thought. Humanity is at a fulcrum, historically, socially, and ecologically. I don't think there's ever been a point in time where individual decisions that we make, such as should I use this tube of plastic toothpaste, matter so much to the outcome not only of human species but also non-human species. So we are at a fulcrum in history in general. We're also at a fulcrum here in this institution, and I think I'd like to just give a little bit of context. National Gallery X is a partnership between the National Gallery and King's College London. And the National Gallery's condition of this partnership is that we somehow keep the canon of paintings in there relevant. There's been a huge investment in this wonderful collection of paintings, but we know its limitations. I won't go into that. And we also know that it could become rapidly irrelevant. That was their condition. The other condition, I'm an artist. I do video art and digital art, but I am also a researcher in the Department of Engineering. And King's College London's condition was that National Gallery X draws on technologies from from King's College London primarily, but also from the other intellectual resources there. With those rather strict limitations, I think, we've seen something extraordinary happen here, and we've seen it happen tonight. Tonight we have seen poetry in the machine. And I think this is really important, because I said earlier that we have to make decisions. We're at a fulcrum, which means we go one way or another. And the answer that has come to me through all of our presentations, and I thank both of our keynotes, and well, all the thanks have been given around. I want to thank everybody for attending. But the answer to that, I think, is diversity. And if we think about what happens to a monoculture, you have one species of wheat or one species of corn grown with the old way of thinking, oh, let's keep it uniform, and then something comes along and wipes it out. Well, there are moral reasons to have diversity, but there are also practical reasons to have diversity. It leads to sustainability and to resilience. So I think tonight, one of our takeaways is there's a lot of great art being shown. We have a lot of old masters there, but some of the art you've seen here today, they're going to be old masters in 50 or 100 or 500 years. But let's also think about taking as many different influences as we can and expressing ourselves in as many ways possible. So I'll close with that word, 2 words, diversity, and many thanks to all of you for coming and attending and participating. It's been a wonderful night. Please enjoy yourselves and enjoy our hospitality.